Well, joining me now from London is Fawaz Gerges, the Director for the Middle East Centre at the London School of Economics. Fawaz, good to have you with us. If this group did execute Assad's soldiers in this way, that's clearly a war crime. That's one of the problems of a fragmented opposition, isn't it? Keeping control of those various groups and keeping them all to the rule of law.
Well, remember, this is not the first report about alleged war crimes committed by elements of the armed opposition. We have multiple reports by human rights organizations. Very alarming. These crimes undermine the moral case of the opposition in the eyes of many Syrians and also in the eyes of the international community. Obviously, there are rogue militant elements among the many scores of the armed groups. There is no unity, no command and control, no centralized authority. There is really tremendous need for a unified command and control, and also on the part of the opposition to confront the militant elements who have been committing such crimes.
It's not going to be an easy task, though, is it, to come up with one homogenous, unified opposition, though this is something clearly that countries like the US want to see?
I think you're absolutely correct. I think this is a structural problem. Remember, we're talking about almost more than 100 armed groups in Syria. There is no centralized authority. We have heard in the last few months that some of the extremist elements who subscribe to Al-Qaeda's ideology basically have committed such crimes. And not only the Americans, but even the opposition itself are deeply concerned about these crimes. The United States now has become deeply involved in trying to assist the opposition to unify its ranks, because the Americans are terrified that extremist elements are trying to hijack the Syrian uprising. And as you know, in the next few days and next few weeks, there will be some major meetings on the part of the opposition to create a coalition of the opposition that really represents the uprising on the ground, even though I don't think it's going to be easy, because there is a great deal of fragmentation, ideological fragmentation, political fragmentation, and theological fragmentations within the opposition.
Yeah, in fact, one of those meetings is taking place in Doha next week. Do you think it's going to mark the end of the Syrian National Council? Because Hillary Clinton is saying that group, the SNC, can no longer be viewed as the visible leaders of the Syrian uprising.
I think there is relative consensus that the Syrian National Council has failed. It has failed to basically build bridges to the armed opposition inside Syria. It has failed in the eyes of many Syrians because most of the members of the Syrian opposition have been living in exile for 20 or 30 years. The Americans finally have come out and they said that the Syrian National Council is not representative not only of the armed groups on the ground, but even of the aspirations of the Syrian people. The challenge now is to create a new coalition, to bring in some of the armed elements and also to broaden the political representation on the ground. The danger here is that you don't want too much involvement on the part of America in trying to really fix the Syrian oppositional house. Already some critics are saying the Americans are trying to create a similar opposition group to which they did in Iraq in 2003. I hope that the opposition itself, I hope that the Arab states and the Arab League would take an active role in trying to assist the opposition in putting its house in order and create a unified opposition coalition. Because remember, it's not just about the war crimes that are taking place in Syria. It's about trying to engage any political settlement in the next few weeks, next few months. You need a credible oppositional group that represents the opposition inside Syria, both the political and the armed groups, that basically engages in political transition. And I think that's why the Americans are really very much concerned. Not only they're concerned about the extremist elements hijacking the Syrian uprising, but they're also concerned about having a coalition that basically will represent an interlocutor to the Syrian regime in case a settlement becomes ripe in Syria in the next few weeks or next few months.
Indeed. Fawaz, thank you very much indeed for that. Good to get your thoughts there. Fawaz Gerges from the Middle East Centre at the London School of Economics.